So about a year ago, I was scrolling on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and it was when the growth operator trend was going mad. So Eddie Cumberbatch, everyone starts talking about partnering with info agencies and taking score percentages and stuff. And I came across a video from David Hunter, and he was talking about how growth operating is actually not an easy business model. And he also said that there were only two other people in the industry who he knew who had done it successfully, and that was Ben Bader and the man that we're sat here with today, Maciek Lipa. Welcome to the Progressive podcast, bro.
Welcome, man. It's a pleasure to speak with you today.
Pleasure to be here, man.
So you were kind of doing growth operating, or whatever you want to call the unique mechanism, before it became a bit of a mainstream biz op course and people started pushing it. You started off with a direct response e-commerce email marketing agency, am I correct?
Correct.
So you started off with that, right? And I know that one of the things that you are massive on is skill accumulation. Talk me through your process about how you got started with the e-com stuff and how you accumulate the skills to then get into the info agency.
Great question. Yeah. So in terms of growth operating, of course, recently it's been like an upsurge. Like there's so many of these people entering the industry, and when we started, it was in 2022. And in 2022, no one in the bio had iScale info or like growth operating, nothing like that. So it was a lot easier signing deals. It wasn't as commoditized, that being said. But before info, I was, of course, in e-commerce, email marketing. And I, of course, read the traditional books, of course, all the cash advertising, the Claude Hopkins and things of that realm. But I learned the most, honestly, from practicality. So I started off as an e-commerce email copywriter. I had like a decent client portfolio. And then just me writing daily for like 5 to 8 hours a day, I was kind of like immersing myself into what makes great copywriting. And simultaneously, when I was writing for brands, I was kind of like figuring out is like what are the big writers doing in the industry, and just kind of like swiping their thinking processes, you know, because I believe in order to become a great copywriter, direct response marketer, it's not so much more about the books you read, it's more about the exposure and like the sales letters and things of that realm that you read. So I believe copywriting is a language, and the more you expose yourself to the language, the better your skill accumulation is, you know. So it's something that I make a daily non-negotiable, and exposure is the best way to broaden the skills.
So what was your in to even becoming an e-com copywriter, right? Because everyone has like, so for example, I bought Cardinal Mason's course on a webinar and that was my in, right?
Yeah.
So you would have been 21 in 2022, 2021.
Yeah, like
Were you kind of like working a job at the time? Had you considered going uni? And like, what had you seen online that made you think like, right, copywriting is the avenue that I want to take?
Yeah, great question. I mean, before even copywriting, we can take a step back. I was actually in e-commerce. So I had like a dropshipping brand, but even at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. I saw like a big competitor in the industry that I saw, and then I just bought their products, saw how they done their email automations, how they done their front-end product pages, their ads. I kind of ripped them in a good way, of course. And then I just scaled that store. Like I was like 18 at the time. I scaled that store to like 30K a month in sales. But then since being in that e-commerce industry, I, of course, didn't learn the email copywriting like a lot. So that's when I kind of transferred into freelancing for brands so I can kind of broaden the skill sets. But if we take it a step back, it's the brand. Then I didn't understand direct response then. So I transferred into, of course, picking up on the skills and then started fulfilling for brands. So that's kind of the journey in a nutshell.
So you weren't part of a program, or you didn't buy a course. It was kind of, you tried the e-com for yourself, but then realized that you needed to learn the direct response stuff first.
Correct, yeah. I mean, the first guy that kind of exposed me to the industry, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, Gabriel Saint-Germain. He's like a OG Shopify dropshipping guy. Like he made like breakdowns about e-commerce stores to like really sophisticated at the time. I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he kind of exposed my mind to what's possible with online business. And he inspired me to start a Shopify dropshipping store. In terms of copywriting, yeah, just curiosity. And then me, of course, knowing that is so crucial. And of course, Twitter as well. It kind of boosted that edge as well.
Cool. So, I mean, kind of past that point then, what initiated the transition into the more operator side of things? And how was that for you? Because I guess it's kind of going from something that's very targeted, one specific area, to a little bit more broad, a lot of different processes, a lot of different things that you're having to do. So what was that kind of transition like for you, and what initiated it at the beginning?
Great question. With, of course, the e-commerce email marketing, it was very principle driven. It was very direct response driven. So when we took the transition into info marketing, we kind of understood the principles it takes to get results. You know, so it wasn't really like a difficult transition. But the transition came just seeing the opportunity with my first 2 business partners.
Yeah.
And we just saw the opportunity to partner up with coaches and things of that realm, we started initially with fitness coaches,
Okay, cool.
and then we kind of ascended. So we started off just with basic email list management. And if you offer that now, it's like a huge commodity because AI is taken over, right?
Yeah.
So we started off with email list management, and then these clients, they were running like webinar funnels and all these funnels, and then we had to kind of learn these funnels in order to like even make a lot more cash. So as I mentioned, it was just through exposure, see what our clients done, and then just learning along the way, you know.
Bro, I feel like, do you know, with all the copywriters, so I started off, obviously, Cardinal Mason's webinar, right? Bought Coffee MBA, and he's saying, like, you know, you can get paid $5,000 a month to write 3 emails a week for people. So I was thinking, like, right, emails am I in? So at the start, I was just writing, I did a similar thing to you where for 45 days, I just wrote an email every single day. I just picked, like, people in the industry who I'd want to write for, sent them samples, etc. And I remember when I got my first client, you know, I thought it would be as simple as, right, I just write Google Docs, I just write copy on a Google Doc and I just send it to them. And it's like, well, no. But then that is where the skill accumulation started. So I guess for you you probably manage the email list similar to me, but then it's like, right, can you put the automations together? And then when I learned how to do the automations, it was like, right, can you put the funnel together? And then once you put the funnel together, it's like, right, can you write the VSL? And then you kind of ascend, like you said, into learning the different parts of an info business. So when you were doing that email list management, right, I've heard you put out tweets and say that you were writing emails or you were doing client fulfillment 7 days a week for what, a year and a half,
Like
2 years?
1.5 years, like every single day, yeah. Email list management, deep in the trenches, just writing.
So what's interesting about you, right, and especially your agency, is that, you know, the natural path of an agency owner, I feel like, other than yourself, you know, the average path is agency gets to a point where you don't really want to scale it anymore. You see that info or coaching or a done with you is more scalable, and then you go all in on that. You haven't done that, right? Why not? Is my simple question. Why have you chosen to focus all of your energy on the agency as opposed to going all in on the done with you?
It's a crossroads I'm at daily. I know if I prioritize the coaching program, the done with you, I can go full guru mode, go Dubai, rent out some cars and just create content and drive traffic and make cash. But the agency is the main puppy. I believe if you fully transfer to coaching and you're still not actively doing what you teach, you lose your competitive advantage in the market. The fact that we have got a coaching program that complements our agency, the coaching program results just excel because of that. Because we're still actively testing things for clients. We're adapting to the market. And like, as you know, like what worked, apologies, a year ago, doesn't mean that will necessarily work today. So you constantly need to adapt, you know, and the agency is the main puppy and we are getting like a lot of traction for it. And it is a fun ride to be in, you know, especially when you work with clients that treasure your expertise, who you help scale. And of course, if you've got like a good partnership deals in place as well.
How do you find that kind of balance then between, you know, actually running the agency and the coaching? And do you ever find yourself kind of leaning towards one or the other, or how does that balance look for you? Because I know even maybe within like our circles and a few people that we spoke to, you know, there's always people who might start with the agency, then end up leaning this way, but it can sometimes be a little bit of a zigzag effect of not knowing which one to fully commit themselves to or be able to balance it equally.
Yeah. Another great question. Yeah, the agency is the main driver. That's where the majority of my attention goes because of upside potential and scalability. Of course, the coaching program has scalability as well, but we see like a lot more long-term potential with the agency. Like right now, we're of course even thinking into getting to like long-term publishing deals, you know. And if we prioritize the coaching program, we won't be able to do that. So the main vehicle is the agency, and the coaching program, it perfectly complements that, you know.
So how has actually running the coaching program, the done with you and the consulting offer helped you with the actual like implementing the done for you stuff for your own clients?
Yeah, great question. So with like the done for you, of course, we're kind of exposed to our own offers, our own clients and things of that realm. But with consulting clients, especially because I'm the one that's hands-on with reviewing a copy, that's like something that we do inside the coaching program, and overviewing other people's offers, it's kind of exposed us to what other people are doing. And the easiest way to actually improve your skill is to kind of teach someone else to do it that maybe at like a lower level to you, you know. So I improved my skill accumulation a lot just through exposing my mind to what other consulting clients are doing.
Cool, man. So, I mean, one thing that I'd like to kind of run back to as well is you talked about your kind of daily non-negotiables, and obviously that was kind of more based around like the copywriting side of things, how would you say that your, day to day, your maybe daily non-negotiables now have changed compared to back then, if they have, or how does your day kind of structured compared to then and now?
Yeah. So when we started the agency, of course, we were in like a different stage because we didn't have as much name association, credibility, things of that realm. So that's why we were forced to be in the fulfillment trenches.
Yeah.
I don't regret the phase because the phase has improved our skill. And if we delegated too early, we wouldn't know if the delegated person is doing a good job. So previously, it was a lot of fulfillment, a lot of learning, a lot of kind of exposing our minds to what's out there. Now it's more of I'm that face of the brand. I kind of attract the deals, and I'm responsible for growth. Because behind the scenes at our agency, we have got a fulfillment partner, absolute killer, who of course fulfills effectively.
Yeah.
So I'm just responsible for the sales, the marketing, and just putting our name out there to bring us the deals and reach the goals that we want.
Cool, man. So, I mean, kind of delving into that a little bit further then, what would you say your day-to-day actually looks like?
It typically is, of course, my newsletter. That's the main priority. So when I wake up, the first thing I do, that's on my mind always, is open a fresh Google Doc, and whatever's on my mind, all right. Like, I don't even come up with ideations. Like when I'm on my laptop, an idea would spring to mind, and then I would kind of write it. So I don't schedule newsletters like a week before and things of that realm. I write in the morning, gets my creative juices flowing. So that's the first thing, my newsletter. After my newsletter is done, the second most important thing is client KPI and conversion economic maxing. So I'm deep inside our client accounts. We create advanced Looker studios that display all key KPIs from front end to back end. And if I notice a leaking pipe happening, I'll consult with my fulfillment partner and we immediately fix that bottleneck. That could be a customer acquisition cost, opt-in rate, whatever the metric is, right? Then it includes, of course, the KPI maxing, client check-ins, and then my second proportion of the day, it typically consists of new business.
Yeah.
So that's more tailored towards the YouTube ideation, the personal branding, taking sales calls, setting up strategic partnerships, reaching out to people in my network to kind of for like growth. That's what my days consist of. Of course, they can be random. I'm like a spontaneous guy. Things come up like a client request, a new launch, a new ad account that needs to be unbanned. These things come up.
100%.
But like from like a focus point of view, those are the main needle movers. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Something I want to sit on for a minute, if that's all right, is the actual operations of the agency, right? So you started off the agency with business partners, right?
Correct.
What did the kind of spread of skills look like when you first started? Because it's something that, in a business partner, let's say, for example, with an info agency, for example, I would say that maybe you have someone who's kind of like paid media and copywriting and the funnel side of things, and then maybe someone who is more sales driven, who can manage the sales teams. What did the split of skills look like between you and your business partners when you first started?
Great question. And when we started, we were kind of at a foundational level, so we didn't really understand what makes great business partners. When we started the first agency, we were kind of like, this opportunity sounds good, let's go three ways, But at the time, what was complementary, it was me and one of my business partners were more fulfillment focused and like high level strategy. And then the other one was more lead gen and acquisition because he came from that kind of background. There was complementary skill sets, but now my stance on business partners has changed like a lot since then. Like I think when you start, you kind of just rush into business opportunities because you like each other and then sure, let's make some money, But yeah, my stance has changed a lot.
In terms of, I guess, then, the obviously business partners, something I wanted to touch on is like the hiring side of things. And for you then personally, when do you think it is kind of the perfect time to start hiring within kind of the info space, whether you're an agency owner or you've got a product yourself? At what point, past maybe potentially just having someone doing operations, when do you think it's time to actually start building out a team?
Yeah, this is a mistake I think many info agency marketers make is they think that they need to delegate too early and then they haven't gone through the skill accumulation phase. We've had like 1.5 to 2 years without hiring. Like I think we scaled to like, I don't know, it was like 85, 90K a month with our agency, not bad. And then I was still writing daily emails. I was inside active campaign, coming up with the ideation, coming up with the big ideas. But that gave us an edge because when we decided to hire, it was like a lot easier.
Yeah.
So in terms of hiring, I don't believe I believe it's a big mistake you detaching from the business too early. You know, like even if we're at like 200-300K a month, are we still very hands-on within the business? That of course the focus changes. I won't be doing fulfillment, but I'll be doing like overview to ensure that the clients are happy. So I think the first hire that you should make is, of course, depending on your vehicle, depending on what you offer. But of course, when you've got like a decent client portfolio, like at 5, 6 partners, workloads kind of getting hectic, you can kind of come to the conclusion, right? But don't detach yourself from the business too early. It's a very big mistake that many people make.
Yeah,
And I think it causes their downfall.
And I guess kind of for anybody who's watching who isn't as familiar with the space, then, you know, what would that potential kind of hiring structure look like? You know, within an info product, I'm sure a lot of people are curious. What does that structure look like? You know, obviously most people see the face of it, maybe like Iman, you know, you see Iman, but he's got a whole team behind him. And for anyone who's kind of fresh, what does that team actually look like?
It depends on the scalability of offer, you know. As an agency, of course, you've got fulfillment partners, you've got people that do the funnels, you've got back-end managers. As an offer owner, the hires you make are like a lot more different because now you need the sales reps, the setters, and like operators, and it gets like a lot more complex, you know. I think with hiring, the best thing that you can do is on the front end build your personal brand.
Yeah.
Like I signed my fulfillment partner, who's an absolute killer, through my Twitter. Like he was following up like 5-7 times. And when I jumped on a call with him, my intuition just told me that he was the perfect guy for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I think hiring gets easy if you have got reputation in the industry. People naturally gravitate to you in a good way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's made hiring easy for us.
What about, so do you know the people who come into the coaching program, right? Obviously, there are going to be people in any program who are more successful than others. What are the skill sets that people are coming into the program with that allow them to succeed quicker than other people?
Yeah, great question. Do you know it's not necessarily more on the skill tide, it's more about the character tide. And because I've got people inside my coaching program who are absolute killers with direct response. Their copy is insane, they can write insane, their flow, transitions, all of this is insane, but then they've got leaking perhaps in their character traits. They may believe that they're not worthy, they may believe that they're not able to sign his clients. And when you program your mind with these thoughts, naturally over time, of course, it's going to affect your action. The people inside my coaching program who see the best results, they've kind of got a mentality that is like, bet we'll figure out anyway. You know, it's like, this client leaves us, bet we'll figure out anyway. You know, this launch flopped, bet we'll figure out anyway. So I think it's more the character trait thing, like driven. Like even our course, we are heavy into the character traits, like rewiring your belief systems to believe that you are worthy, you know, because it's all internal. It's something that I picked up on like a lot. I thought it was mainly skill. It's not mainly skill. It's mainly character trait and limiting beliefs. So we touch a lot on that inside the program, yeah.
Especially, I think with the signing bigger clients thing, that's a big thing. You know, like if you sign, let's say, like a fitness coach who's got 10K followers and he's selling a coaching program,
easy,
you can
right?
you can just flip it like that. But with the bigger people, you know, I found that, you know, if people follow some of my clients, that's always what I'll lead with the outreach. It's like, we've taken this client, and immediately you're getting a response because you just know that the name association is good enough for them to at least like even open the DM in the first place. And most people coming into the program by themselves or with a business partner.
And we have got a few business partners inside, but the majority of them are individual. They are, as you mentioned previously, about the fact that I don't post content. I've got like a newsletter. I discuss like sophisticated ascension, demonstrative funnels, webinar funnels, and scaling offers. You know, the people that we bring into the coaching program, they understand that skill accumulation is important. So the questions that are asked, they are high level. People don't come in and ask about a stupid subject line or, I don't know, some foundational things. It's more advanced. It's more bigger picture overview, you know, and people are seeing really good results inside.
I mean, you spoke about the kind of limiting beliefs and how it wasn't something that you always, you know, thought that way. So what was kind of that pivotal moment where you kind of thought, okay, it is potentially a mindset shift, it is these limiting beliefs, and is that something that you had to overcome yourself, or what was it that kind of made that switch for you?
Yeah, I had to do it myself. So even during our first agency, even though we scaled to decent numbers, I always had a subconscious feeling that I wasn't worthy of the success that we're getting. And I think you need to develop your worthiness, you know, like your sense of worthiness inside like a market, you know. So since I kind of picked up on that, just improving my worth and just believing that I am able to get the success that I want, you know. Because I think many people, they self-jeopardize their success, you know. They don't outreach to that big client because they say, I haven't got the skill yet, or they don't do this because they say that they're not ready, you know. But it's all limiting belief tied. So I have gone like on a big journey to overcome that.
And what, I guess, were some things that helped you overcome that? I know a lot of people say it comes down purely to, you know, actually just taking action and putting in the reps and you go over. But for you yourself, you know, what was on a personal level, what do you think it was that kind of helped you overcome these things? If you don't mind sharing that.
No, of
anyway.
course. No, I think it's of course action. I'm a relentless action taker. I like working a lot, 10 to 14 hours a day, every single day. I love that shit. But what's helped me a bunch is understanding that when you're working, and when you're not working, you're not working. Meaning, I was so attached to business that even when I was away from business, I was still thinking about business, which is kind of strange. But the moment I detached in a good way from the business, and like when I'm present, like let's say I'm out with my family or whatever it may be, I'm in that moment, that's helped me a bunch. So it's kind of like finding the balance between business and of course life. At the beginner stage, there is no balance. You need to work like a motherfucker, you know? But when you reach a certain stage, that differentiation, it becomes like a lot more important.
Yeah.
I want to stay on the agency side of things, if that's all right, for a minute. So Ryan Clogg, right, we were talking about a minute ago, he's kind of come on doing the video a day, sharing high-level stuff, interviewing high-level people. And one of the things that I've really picked up on him is his kind of involvement in the strategy of the offer, as opposed to just like, so for example, taking care of the paid media or writing the webinars or writing the VSLs and the marketing tech and everything like that. With your agency, how much involvement do you have? Like, let's say so the offer owners that you work with, right?
Yeah.
What does the split look like between the tasks that you're doing for the business and the stuff that the offer owners are doing for the business? And are you kind of consulting the offer owner on things they should do to do with like product, for example, or monetization models?
Yeah, it does depend on the client that we bring on board. And one of our agency's philosophies is get the clients the best results possible with the least amount of time on their sides. So we do like to take care of like a lot more moving parts. So we do tend to consult them on these on these avenues. But our main agency offer is honestly paid media, funnel, back-end management, and consultation with the sales team. And if necessary, if you want to be a go-giver and if you want to improve your retention, then we'll, of course, consult on the product. If we work with a client and then we're getting them insane results, but then we know it's like, let's say, a leaking pipe in their onboarding, for example, and it's not in our deliverables, we'll still bring it up to them. We'll still kind of give them the initiative to go ahead and improve that, you know? So we always over-deliver, even if it's not in our delivery scope.
So you are primarily, right, do you know when you think about info agencies, right? I feel like most people either come from a copy and a marketing standpoint, or most people might have been a rep and then they go and kind of like manage the sales team and that side of things. I was speaking to an operator the other day who started off as a rep and he's kind of learned the marketing side of things and the paid media. What's your involvement with like the sales side of things? Because I imagine that you're primarily marketing based.
Correct, yeah. So because the majority of the clients that we bring on, they have got established sales systems already in place. You know, so they have got a sales manager who kind of takes the lead and ensures good KPIs, sharp rates, closing rates, and we just drive traffic so the closers and reps can of course close them. We have been put in opportunities where we need to, of course, bring on these setters and closers for clients. We have got the network to, of course, take care of that, but we just mainly focus on the marketing because that's where we want our agency's core vehicle to be. You know, it makes our job like a lot easier because then we're spreading ourselves too thin. Like sales and marketing, they're two different departments within an info product business, and we want to become the best on the marketing sides. So if we need to now focus on sales, it's going to kind of diminish the results on the marketing. You know, so we do consult with team members. We have weekly sales and marketing chats. We overlook KPIs. We rewatch call recordings if necessary to improve the marketing, but a lot of our attention does go towards the marketing.
Yeah, that was where I was going to go with that, because something that I found is like really helped me on the webinar side of things is the communication with the sales team, because I find that the sales team are on the front lines, right? The closers, if they're taking 5, 6, 7 calls a day, then they know the customers and their backgrounds better than almost the offer owner does. So if I'm just speaking to the offer owner, the offer owner's kind of like doing the content and, you know, thinking about YouTube videos and stuff, whereas the sales reps are actually the ones who know the customer well. And what I was going to say is like, what does your communication look like with the sales teams on the offers, and how much kind of not involvement, but like what does the consulting approach look like between the sales team and you as the marketers?
Yeah, it's very hands-on, and I think it's very critical. I believe as a marketer, if you're a operator or whatever the unique mechanism, growth operator, direct response marketing founder, whatever you go with, you need close communication from front end to back end. You need close communication with the media buyer, the guy who does the funnel, the guy who does the webinar, and the sales team. Because if you don't, incongruencies happen and the funnel breaks. You know, so with all our clients, we do have close communication with the sales managers, the people that do the ads, to ensure maximum congruency. You know, because like even from the ad, if someone calls out a specific ICP, the targeting changes on the front end, the sales teams are not informed, then they're going to jump on calls with people from like a different ICP. Is new objections, is new combats, is very difficult. You know, so you do need the congruency.
So from an agency standpoint, right, I want to get onto webinar and low ticket funnels because I know that that's
The
something.
demonstrative funnel.
The demonstrative. I know
That's
that's
the UM,
your
that's
guys.
the UM.
That's your UM, right?
Yeah.
But how important do you think it is for an info agency to have a UM, right? Because I see, so for example, go on someone's Instagram or you go on their Twitter, scaling info, and it's like, cool. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like when I read your newsletter and you're showing your KPIs and you're showing what you're doing on the front end, the back end, how you're sending people, like the webinar video that you made, that was really useful for me, especially. How important do you think it is for an info agency to actually have a UM in terms of what they offer?
Not too important. Let me explain. I think in the info marketing industry, it's all about name association, credibility, and status. And you attract good prospects, even if you don't have a landing page or a UM, just because of the previous results that you've got. You know, I think when we started, it was kind of different. Now, of course, there's so many of these growth operating minions entering the industry, and the power of a UM may be more critical. But I believe the way that you differentiate is, what I'm saying is like the skill accumulation. If you've got no clients, showcase your competence to a prospect that you can get them results through free work. Go give max with your acquisition, and then they'll trust you over all these guys who've got revolutionary three-step UM systems in their bio. You know, I think it's just a marketing fad. I think the main thing that matters most in the industry is results. If you showcase a result of you generating, I don't know, from scaling an offer from 0 to 300K a month, that means more than the Revolution's funnel system for scaling info. You know?
Yeah. Like Joe with my webinar stuff, I don't say that I've got like I don't call it anything else. I'm like, it's a webinar challenge funnel with a guarantee, right? That's just what we do. How did you land on the demonstrative funnel and the webinar funnel as the two things that your agency kind of specializes in?
Yeah, great question. So with the webinar funnel, we've been immersed in that funnel since 2022 when we done our first agency. We signed our first big client through a Twitter DM. And at the time he was doing this webinar funnel, we saw like live training. We were like, what the fuck is this? I had no idea what this shit was. It was like, it's a new game for me. But he was doing these live trainings every Sunday. And then you join like at the time it was like a webinar jam room. Like, I was like, what's this shit? You know, so we had to learn the webinar funnel through there. And then that client, of course, by God's grace, he kind of referred us to more clients also running the webinar funnel. So the webinar funnel, it came through, of course, the first big client. And the demonstrative funnel, it actually came recently through a publishing opportunity that we received for a business acquisition offer. And the client bring up this concept about, of course, getting calls on the calendar and selling like a low ticket. I'm like, interesting, you know. So you sell like a low ticket product through paid ads. As soon as they buy, you present them with an opportunity to book a call. And then we're trying to come up with some cool names, some cool UMs, because we can call it like a low ticket funnel, but they've heard that shit before, you know. So the demonstrative funnel, the way that we got the name, it was kind of like you demonstrate your credibility, authority, and the results you can get with your low ticket product. And when your low ticket product gets results, then you can ascend customers a lot easier. So the demonstrative funnel, it kind of came this year. Like late last year, actually, like November, December time.
So I'm fascinated by the demonstrative funnel because I feel like that. So one thing that I see most people do is, right, they get a growth operator sets them off a VSL funnel, right, organic traffic. Whereas with a demonstrative funnel, you are, I assume, primarily pushing that funnel through paid advertising,
Correct.
Right? How do you go about putting together a low ticket product to make sure that you give enough value, but you don't solve the entire problem to make the high ticket seem like you don't want people to think, oh, well, I've got this low ticket thing, I don't need that. So how are you going about putting together these low ticket products for people?
Great question. I wrote like extensive newsletter editions on this topic, but we've got two philosophies. Is of course the low ticket product has to get your customers a quick win, and then you need to ethically gatekeep. This is another UM I coined. Ethically gatekeep some offer components so your high ticket makes sense. So our low ticket products, the way that they look like is typically they're like crash courses that they can go over and then they can get a quick win. And here's where people go wrong. They think that your low ticket product, it needs to get a quick tangible win. The win, it doesn't need to be tangible. The win can be emotionally driven. If a customer buys our low ticket product and then they go over the deliverables and then they think to themselves, oh my God, like I can do this shit, you know, like my perspective has shifted. That's a win in their eyes. And then it's easier to get them on a win. No, to get them on a call, apologies. So yeah, they're very simple, typically crash courses, add some bonuses there for perceived value, but a lot more focus on the high ticket. You know, that's where the differentiation is, that's where the handheld elements are, and that's where the accelerate success is.
What do the economics look like on that funnel, right? Because I know that you've spoken about this before, that the goal of the low ticket is not to have the low ticket be profitable, right?
That's
Day one. So what do the economics of that funnel look like?
Yeah, so we actually scaled like a demonstrative funnel. It was sitting at like an 8x ROAS on 100% cold traffic, and we were only liquidating 40% of our ad spend. That means for every $100 we spent, we only make back $40. People typically, they would be emotionally reacting, saying, "Oh, I'm not profitable. I'm gonna stop my ads. I'm gonna stop this shit. Go to like a new funnel." But they need to understand that you don't make profits, because when these low ticket buyers, they see the opportunity to book a call, you make profits on the back end. Like we had like a 10K offer on a back end from these low ticket buyers, and that's why we had like an AX ROAS. You know, so the goal is not to make profits. We aim for with our clients like a 40 to 70% liquidation rate, and of course really good low ticket to book call ascension rates.
You know, you've worked with a lot of people in the info space. What would you say currently is probably one of the most like overlooked levers of growth that people, you know, may put to the side or they don't actually look into? And that's, you know, around the time at the moment as well.
Great question, bro. I think it's product. I think it's product. People, a lot of these info guys, especially, I don't know, I'm not going to name drop anyone, but like, I don't know, these people that are mass market, B2C, they run out Rolex day dates, they go shopping, Dubai Mall, all these things.
Yeah.
They're very marketing driven, and they neglect their product, and then their growth plummets.
Yeah.
You know, I think the way that the info game is going, because of how sophisticated and how aware the market is, the product differentiates you. You know, so I think if you put like a lot of focus to your product, like actually get sick results, like you'll scale. Like it's bound to happen. You know, so I think product.
And I guess, you know, moving on from what you just said there as well, where do you see the future of the info space? I'm curious, you know, in terms of, I think there is kind of a split of, you know, people who are there cash, and then also people who are there to, you know, help their clients, you know, actually truly grow with their clients and themselves, and not just be on a cash collecting mission. Where do you see kind of the two, and just what do you see the future for info at the moment?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they have got that quick cash mentality, and I think the people who will succeed is the people with a good why behind why they're doing it. Is like, of course, causing an impact, like actually changing people's lives. You know, even like as an online coach, the best clients that we've worked with, they just say like, I want to help so many people because I was once like them, and they actually firmly believe in that. You know, so in terms of where the space is going, I think there'll be a lot of short-lived people entering the industry. They see that as popping, they want to launch something, they make a quick cash, then they leave, and that'll be happening a lot. But yeah, the people who last are the people who, of course, skill accumulating, and they actually have good whys behind it. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And in terms of the why, then I guess for you personally, what was the why? Why the online space? What kind of drove you into this in the first place?
Yeah, great question. On like a deep level, is of course like the family giving back and stuff of that realm. But now I actually wrote this when I was making like £750 a month, like I was broke ass, you know. But I even wrote it on like a notebook. It was kind of like help other people succeed with copywriting. And this was in like 2021. And like now, knowing that I've helped people go from, I don't know, like 0 to 40K a month, like 15 to 115K a month with like the principles that I picked up on, it's actually like super sick. Because like even back then, like honestly, copywriting, I wasn't making money. I was just grinding away, like working a lot. So like now knowing that I can do that for people, it means the world, bro. Like I love that shit. Even like a consulting client, if he messages me, I don't know, like late at night, he sends me like a voice note 3 minutes long, and I've got my phone open, like I'll reply to that shit. Because like I was kind of once in that position, and knowing I can help someone escape that position to better their life, it means the world, you know. So that's kind of my why.
For people who are in a similar position to you at the beginning, then how important do you find you know, what everyone likes to be there, I was in the trenches, that kind of whole phase of just putting your head down, maybe not making money, actually accumulating a good skill set, and maybe on from that, how would you say to actually find your own skill set?
Great question, bro. I think it does come back to trying a lot, seeing what your mind sticks with. For us, it was kind of like an intuition, you know. Like I've always loved writing. Like even when I was young, I'm not sure if this is weird, but I used to love poems. Like in English literature, I used to like analyzing them poems and like the vivid imagery, the transitions and things of that realm. So I knew that copywriting was for me. But it's
Yeah.
kind of course, character trait tied, you know. Some people, they don't want to focus and write. Some people are more aggressive and outgoing. So maybe sales is for you. You know, I think it's just like internal. Like I believe that you can feel it. And I think it does come down to like trying a lot of shit.
I want to do one more point on the demonstrative funnel, right? How do you, I know, bro, I'm here for the tactics, bro. I'm here for the game.
That's the UM, bro.
That's the UM, bro. That's the UM. I want
They're
to pick
scaling,
it,
bro.
bro.
They
I
are
want to, right. Okay. So low ticket to high ticket on the back end, right? How are you making sure that the sales cycle from them buying the low ticket to the high ticket is shortened to make sure that the funnel actually is profitable, right? Because if it took them 5-6 months to end up ascending to high ticket, then I imagine that you would have a lot more problems with the economics of the funnel. So how are you making sure that they are ascending quickly from high ticket to low ticket?
Great question, bro. Now, with some of our clients with different niches, the sales cycles can be longer. Like we've been in situations where a client bought our low ticket product, they went through it for like 45 days, and then they booked a call, and then they pay for 10K. You have got them outliers, but the way that we minimize the sales cycle is through making the low ticket product digestible and having good product consumption. So it's very easy to consume. They receive product consumption emails. Step 1, here's what to do. Step 2, here's what to do. You have got like 3 to 5 days to consume this. Then we book them in a calendar within that bracket. Then when they're on a call, by the way, they're so fucking sold. It's so easy. Like we signed like a decent amount of high ticket deals the other day, and all of the people on the sales call, they said, I went through this low ticket course. I've got the notes. Here's my notebook. They took notes of like the low ticket course, you know. So make it digestible. Actually, make it a sick product. Then like Ascension's easy.
Yeah, I see the similarities between that and the webinar funnel. Because with the webinar funnel, when obviously we've been booking calls for webinars recently for high ticket as opposed to pitching on the call. But I am going to try the low ticket pitch on the call and then upsell to the consulting with one of my reselling clients.
Strategy.
Yeah, bro, I'm excited to do it.
Let me know how that goes.
But we've just been booking calls, right? Organic monthly webinar, book calls, book 2 weeks of calls, and they're just paying, right? And I see the similarities between that because once people have been on the webinar, they just turn up and pay. Like the sales team just say like it's a cash collection call, and it is just because you've demonstrated that value up front. You've shown them you can solve the problem, and if you can just write the webinar script well enough and actually get them there in the first place, like I implemented the voicemails as well.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, hard.
The ringless voicemails.
Yeah,
Bro,
yeah,
they
yeah.
crush. I love
Bro.
webinar funnels as well, man. They're super fucking fun, man. Like when we do like a webinar funnel, no matter how late it is, like I'm inside that webinar jam room, like moderating.
Yeah.
Like I'm just overcoming objections and shit. And like if someone says something bullshit, I overcome the objection. So like of course they can book a call, like pay for the program. But webinar funnels are super fun. Super fun.
Yeah, they are. And I feel like that's another funnel where it's more, but I mean, every funnel is economics based, right? But with the webinar funnel, when you have the metrics, you can almost reverse engineer a number you want to make from the webinar and be like, right, well, what's the conversion rate on the webinar going to be? What's the show rate going to be? What's the cost per lead going to be? And you can almost reverse engineer the revenue goal to the amount of ad spend that you want to put into it and then just kind of like fix the gap in between. So yeah, I enjoy that.
Wholeheartedly agree.
I want to go with, how do you think, so I've been thinking about this, right? How do you think info is going to change over the next few years with AI getting better? So do you think info products are going to have to start implementing a lot more kind of tools into their programs and things like that? Or do you think people are just going to keep it strictly info?
Great question. I believe there's an uptrend for AI right now. It's like a huge demand, right? And if you incorporate AI into your messaging and do offer components that are AI tied, people are gravitating towards it. So I think it does help improve conversion rates. We haven't split tested it, but it does gravitate people towards it. I believe a lot more coaches, course creators, they will be using AI as part of the offer stack, which is rightly so. Is the direction that the world's taken, you know? So I don't think it'll be strictly info driven. I think even on the coach and course creator side, they'll be using AI a lot more, even with their ads or even improving their product. You know, it's like this, like it's happening right now. You know, you can either use AI or you can get left behind. You know.
How have you implemented AI into agency operations?
Yeah, great question. So done like a YouTube video on this, but we've got like an entire process. So we've got another of us, unique mechanism, fine. It's like a buyer brain matrix formula.
Yeah, see.
Is our name. I love UMs. I love differentiation. I love putting yourselves in markets of one. That's why we've done this AI process. But this involves a extensive client onboarding, collecting a lot of assets, and then using AI, of course, Claude, to hijack the minds of our prospects to a T. Like our buy brain metrics formula, we've done like a new one because we signed like a new client. It's about 55 pages long. And it's got like a journal entry, which is a positive one, journal entry, which is like a negative one, what they think about their frustrations. Like, it goes extremely in depth. Like, I have got like a YouTube video, feel free to watch it. But when we've got that buyer brain matrix formula created, then we use that to craft marketing ammo, to craft the ads, to craft the sales pages, to craft the email. But that's the cornerstone of everything. We make that a priority.
Bro, I came onto a new offer the other day, property offer, and the kind of sales manager / he's the operator. He's the rep I was talking about a minute ago. I was like, right, I need to speak to the reps. I want to speak to existing customers, do that market research. And bro, he just sent me this Notion doc.
It was, you know, I can vouch for him. It was
Bro,
a beautiful
he just sent me
doc.
this Notion doc with
it was
the
amazing,
journal
bro.
entries and
Oh,
everything.
bro.
Bro, I could not believe it. I was spamming the Slack channel. I was like, bro, this is the like, if everyone did this, my life would just
Bro.
be so much easier.
So easy.
But
It's
yeah,
with a proper nicotine, right?
yeah, bro, of course.
for it,
Do
bro.
whatever. I want to talk about, and this is an interesting one, right? So do you know Julius, buyer of media on Twitter?
Yeah, like we follow each other, yeah.
He put out something the other day that I thought was really interesting. So it was like someone posted a Ben Bader video of him and Cardinal Mason in their new apartment, and he was like, need to push harder. And he put, don't fall for the same psyop that you're meant to be creating
Interesting.
as a marketer.
Yeah.
So do you know, for the people in the info agency, right, I feel like it's a bit of a, do you know when you become aware of the marketing stuff, I almost feel like you as a marketer become a lot more hesitant to
for sure, bro.
to buy things, right?
Yeah,
Because
for
like, do you know,
sure.
so say for example, like the buyer brain matrix, right? Go on, tell me what is it?
Yeah, like the buyer brain matrix formula.
Right, so I see that, and as a marketer, I'm like, it's a unique mechanism. But then I do also know that is valuable. What do you think about that quote? I just saw it and I thought, fuck, that's so good. Like, don't fall for the same psyop that you're meant to be creating. So as a marketer, because he was looking at like other people living the life and whatever, and I just saw it and I thought, fuck.
Like, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's
That's
hard.
Powerful. That's powerful. That hits home runs. I think it's like, it kind of goes back to that thing, like you can of course be on a bench, or you can of course be Michael Jordan shooting a threes, you know, like you can kind of choose that. Like, even if you see great marketers doing things and that you're not doing them and then they're collecting cash, like, why are you on a bench?
You know, you work with a lot of different people, and the primary, you know, kind of metric that a lot of people track is just financials. But delving a little bit deeper, what would you say are actually some of the most important metrics of growth within the space? Maybe a little bit further in on the back end, not just the basics that people may see.
Like in terms of like a client perspective, or
So in terms of an agency perspective, so say for you, you know, let's say you're working with a new info offer, and away from, you know, potentially just like, okay, we've cash collected 50K this month, what are some important metrics that you look at to say, okay, wow, this is what needs doing, this and this? As you know, again, it's something that a lot of people on the back end on the forefront kind of looking in, aren't necessarily aware of these things.
Great question. I think it comes down to client satisfaction and margins. You know, like if you can make a client, I don't know, X amount of cash and then their margins diminish, it doesn't really mean as much, you know. So that's why we optimize for client profitability. We ensure that when we make X amount of profit, the client's actually making a lot of profit in like the gateway. But I think as a agency owner, what's often overlooked is, of course, you can be making cash, but it's about kind of your peace of mind of working with the clients. You know, like we've had opportunities that we turn down. Like they can be, I don't know, 10 to 30, 40K a month clients.
Yeah.
And then they were headache. They were like minimize our peace of mind. You know, like with the clients that we look for, of course, we look at their business, if their offer's good and stuff, but we are really look at their character traits and what inspires them. You know, like our best clients, like they're white, like they just wear like a black t-shirt, and they're like family people. They got like children, they take their children to school.
Yeah.
I think some info guys, they're very materialism driven.
Yeah.
They want to go Miami Brickell, buy day dates and like splurge money and like Dubai and like £5 and shit like that. And I think if you've got that why, inherently you're only driven by money, and it's not really the best why behind it. You know, so that's what we look for in clients. It's more actually like the character traits behind a client as well.
Yeah, interesting. I want to go 3 more tactical things, right? I want to talk structuring partnership deals with you and clients. I want to talk monetization models and what you are doing for clients at the moment that you're enjoying the most and what's doing the best. And I want to talk about traffic sources as well. So we'll start off, how are you structuring agency deals? And I know that this is probably different now. You have the name association, the skills and everything. How are you going about structuring these deals? I know that you said that you were thinking about taking a bit more of a publishing approach going forward.
Yeah, great question. So like at our agency right now, we've got 2 core offers. One is like a build out. That's to set up our infrastructure for the demonstrative funnel, our unique mechanism, which is like a low ticket to book call hybrid. And then we have got like a GP deal, which is retain and profit share focused. But even before we do the deals and we pitch X amount of profit share, we kind of figure out like how much profit can we make this name, how much would they be taking home, and how much our profit share can actually be with the retainer. Because each client like that we want, we are very specific with how much they want to be paying us, you know. So we have got them two kind of offers, like a build out and the GP deal. And with the build out, you get results with that, and then you may notice other leaking pipes in their marketing that they can potentially be like a GP client in the future. You know, like we've had them situations, but we have got them two.
So
offers.
what does the build out offer look like? So are you building it for them and then kind of like helping them with, so do you know Jason Wojo? He has a webinar build out one where it's like 14 days, make it profitable, build the ads and whatever, and then we help you for like a month after. Is that a similar kind of structure to your build out offer where you're building them the demonstrative funnel and then for the next 30 days or 60 days or whatever, you're helping them manage the ads and things like that?
Very similar, yeah. So even though it is a build out offer, we are still very hands on. We have like a Slack communication, like checking calls because of course client retention. But the build out, it does consist of course, crafting the front end page, the VSLs, like the book call pages, the email automations, consultation with the sales teams. And that's typically like a 60-day period. Yeah? Like consulting them to ensure that the KPIs are good. And then after we can send them if needed, you know. And then we do also craft them some like front end ideation, some scripts, some ad hooks to get in front of their dream prospects.
Monetization models, low ticket. I know that you obviously have to have that as a component to the demonstrative funnel. Mid ticket and high ticket. What are your most successful clients doing, and what are you kind of liking the most at the moment, and what's working?
Great question. I mean, like people say like that they prefer low ticket over high ticket and things of this realm. But like our demonstrative funnel is kind of like a hybrid. So it's a low ticket and high ticket hybrid. That's what we've got the most joy with because we can test so many ads, we self-liquidate, we get calls in the calendar. But the info guys that like we've worked with that scale past like $1 million a month, they've kind of got a portfolio of offers that appeal to different ICPs. You know, like even for one of our clients, we done like a webinar for like a 997 offer. People were unqualified and then we downsold them on like a 497 offer. So that portfolio of offers will like allow you to scale, you know.
What was the difference between the 997 and the 497?
Just like a new UM, and we removed some components. But like through email, like within like 3 to 4 weeks, we've done like 120K cash collected, something like that. Just through like email promos, hint on them lost leads, you know, because many people inside the CRM or their active campaign, they've got a bunch of non-buying leads that are not buying anything. And they're not buying anything because of money limitation or belief limitation. So if you overcome them two limitations and craft a new funnel, a new offer that appeals to them, you collect cash. You know, so you need to kind of create different offer tiers that appeal to different ICPs, and that's what our best clients do. You know?
Traffic sources. So you are primarily meta ads, am I correct?
Correct.
Have you dabbled in YouTube, Google, things like that?
Our clients, they sometimes have got teams for the YouTube and Google. We don't we haven't versed into that because we want to, of course, become the best with Meta. But apparently, like YouTube is super great as well.
Yeah,
like
because I saw that you were at Brian Moncarda's Mastermind.
Oh, yeah, Brian Moncarda's super sick guy. Told me a lot. Yeah, good exposure. He's
Yeah,
a
so I
super sick guy.
wasn't sure if you'd kind of been there to learn a bit of the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, with Brian, like, I mean, because he's been doing YouTube for years, I appreciate his longevity. He hasn't changed the vehicle. He hasn't changed niche. He hasn't thought about doing, I don't know, Facebook ads or something random. He's kept consistent. And with that ideology, I like that because consistency is, of course, very important. And I just got there because, of course, like his agency. If he's been doing it X amount of years, he's doing something correct. And he's worked with like heavy hitters. So
Yeah, when I think of YouTube ads, I think of Brian Moncarda. I don't think of anyone else.
But there's a reason behind that because he's been doing it for so many years, right? Then all these growth operating minions, they try to sign a client, they don't get a response with 30 cold emails sent, and then they jump into the next vehicle or the next thing, you know. But then there's other people like Brian, for example, or like other people I know, they've been doing this shit for 4 or 5 years, and now they're seeing like insane success. You know, it's all about longevity.
So name association is something that I want to touch on as well because I feel like we kind of skimmed past it earlier. What kind of, when you were first kind of running the agency and you were doing fitness coaches and stuff, how were you going about landing bigger names within the space? And how do you think what you were doing then has changed compared to what's required now?
Great question. Now there's so many growth operating minions, as I said.
Yeah.
So many of these small minions, like that want to live in Miami Brickell, as I said, right? But when we started, we kind of signed our first big name by grace, because my business partner, he was doing like ghostwriting for this name, you know, so he wasn't doing email list management. He was making okay money. We signed him, and then by God's grace, he was kind of like a big name. He had like a sick network, you know. Then he referred us to other big names who also were making like a lot of money, you know. So that was by grace. If I had to improve the name association now, I would do it through value stacking and personal branding for sure. Putting your name out there in a good way and not discussing service level shit, you know, actually showing competence in your content, you know, like Ryan Clogg is a great example. Like, he hasn't necessarily name dropped like names that he's worked with or like consultation, but because of the content that he's curating, people know that he's competent. So he's increasing his name association as like a byproduct. You know, it comes through competence.
As somebody kind of in the info space, then as a service provider rather than somebody who's actually, you know, selling the info, who's trying to make content, what do you think kind of the difference between content production should be in terms of, you know, obviously you spoke, it should be a little bit more niche down and actually be specific, delving into things, but how should that difference potentially look?
As an agency owner.
So as somebody who's providing a service, potentially whether that's an operator, sales, copywriter, etc., in comparison to somebody who's primarily just trying to sell info, where do you think kind of the two should go in terms of who you're targeting? Maybe that one being heading towards virality and the other trying to target a specific kind of niche of people.
Yeah, great question, bro. I think there are principles that are very similar. If you sell an info offer, you of course need to harness the one ICP.
Yeah.
As a service provider, still harness the one ICP. But I think as an info offer, it is more about virality in a way sometimes, you know. Like, you can still make insane amounts of money with like being very niche.
Yeah.
But if you want to go mass market B2C, you do need some virality. That's why you see like these day in the life videos and they're doing like watches, buying all these shoes and shit. But as a service provider, you don't need to optimize for virality. Like, I've got YouTube videos that have got 1.3k videos on my 1.3k views, apologies, on my demonstrative funnel that have got prospects signed. So it's like a different game, yeah. Like, with agency owners, like a lot more tight knit and niche.
Yeah, I signed a client from a video that has 45 views.
Yeah, bro, that's what you need, bro.
Yeah,
that's what you need, bro.
Like, and obviously you look at the channel and you think like the video's got 45 views, but it made me $3,000 on a consultation offer. So.
Exactly. And then other people they've got 100k views doing shit videos and they made no money from it. You know? So you don't need to optimize for views as a service provider.
In terms of kind of the content side for you then, where do you potentially see that going in the future? Obviously, I know in terms of like Instagram short form and all of that, it's not potentially something that you do too much of at the moment, but where do you see the content side of things heading for you?
Yeah, we'll be mainly YouTube driven. And because I believe in YouTube, you're creating like a lot of touch points and it's kind of like a Netflix-like scenario. If someone likes one video, they watch the others, you're building up a lot of touch points. And if they book a call through YouTube, they're a lot more sold on your idea.
Yeah.
So we are mainly YouTube driven. I also like Twitter because of the prospects on there, the people on there. They are from a sophisticated background.
Yeah.
They understand marketing. But yeah, it'll be like a lot of YouTube content, Twitter. And of course, the main vehicle is diverting those eyeballs to my newsletter, where I touch them with more touch points and then that are sophisticated so they can kind of like eventually book a call.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of done a little bit of a full circle recently in terms of, you know, there was this whole fad of like smash out short form, and then people have suddenly had this realization that the value comes from YouTube, and there's been a little bit of a loop back to people. Obviously, it's always been there, but I think more attention going into the YouTube from what I can see at the moment.
Yeah, it's like longer form. I mean, like short form on IG is still great. Like, I know people that make a lot of money with short form IG. It still does work effectively, don't get me wrong. But with the ICP that we want to attract, like YouTube is the vehicle, you know, because we can actually be extremely sophisticated. And as I said, the more time someone spends with you, the more they know, like, and trust you, and the easier it is to kind of get them sold on your idea.
What's the long-term goal with the agency? Like, where do you see the agency? And do you know what? I actually hate asking that question. I was going to say, where do you see it in 5 years? But you've not got a fucking
not that
clue.
cliche.
But like, what, you know, at the moment, next steps, let's say next 6 months to 12 months, where do you see the agency side of things going?
Yeah, we want to just scale. Of course, we've got like numbers in mind that I won't be disclosing. It's kind of like between me and our fulfillment partner. But we want to have like a decent client portfolio, like 10 to 12 partners, which we'll get there like in no time, on good deal structures, and just capping that a while, kind of like treating ourselves as like a CMO within their business for retention. You know, we don't want to do like service level stuff. We actually want to overlook their businesses and be the main driver for their success. You know, so like a lot more responsibility. And of course, as I mentioned earlier on, it's kind of dabbling into publishing later on in the line. You know, like find these insane niche experts who know what they're talking about. They're passionate, but they have no idea about marketing. You know, like there's a platform, it's called like Expert Finder, or like on Google. There's people that know like they are experts at overcoming addiction or overcoming trauma, overcoming PTSD, all this shit, you know. Imagine like launching them, paying them like a retainer, then launching the marketing infrastructure for them. Then the only thing that you do is utilize their knowledge and their credibility. You know, that's what we want to get into long term.
So I feel like, do you know, imagine you're a growth partner just starting out. You go on Instagram, you're looking at people who've already got 50, 100K followers, and you're outreaching to them, and it's like, well, they've already got something built. They've probably already got a partner, or they're able to build the team themselves. Do you know with the goal for the agency, right? Say 10 to 12 partners.
Yeah.
How much emphasis? Let's say you're at 2 to 5 partners as an operator, right? How much emphasis do you think you should be putting on scaling existing clients as opposed to acquiring new clients?
Existing clients always. Existing clients, that's where the majority of your attention should go. Even if you've got, especially when you've got good deal structures in place, and especially if those clients have decent networks and name association that they can feed you more clients. You don't grow with heavy mass type acquisition. You grow with becoming the best, putting skill first, and creating a good name for yourself in the industry. You know, I think that's where people go wrong, as you mentioned. They got like a decent client portfolio, and then they think of blasting IGDM, signing more names, but you don't scale that way. You scale through quality rather than quantity.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always say this too, the amount of DMs we get from scaling info, we want to scale your agency, this.
Do you get people who DM you stuff like that?
All the time, bro.
Your main funnel's the newsletter, right? So for a bit of time, I had my newsletter as my main funnel, and I had this guy saying like, Charlie, are you doing anything with email? It's like, bro, just like, please, just have a look. You know what I mean? All it would take is.
It's like for me, I'm in the sales space. I don't even run an agency, and the amount of people I get sending me messages saying we can scale your agency to this, and this.
If I show you my Twitter and IGDMs right now, right, and I wrote like a newsletter about this, but the majority of these messages are copied and pasted. And when I see that message, I instantly place you in a commodity bucket, and you're getting ghosted, respectfully.
Yeah.
The people who I've signed on work, for work, they've go give max. Like I signed someone for like YouTube thumbnails. They done me free for free. They were absolutely fucking heat. You know, they demonstrated their competence. All these guys, they've got a script from a program. I don't know which program they bought. Then they copied and pasted them, thinking that they're going to sign clients. They're not showcasing competence, and then they're going to get ghosted.
Yeah.
And they follow up with memes and shit. Like one guy, he followed up with like,
The
memes and no
memes.
context.
The memes piss me off.
It's so cringy.
Yeah.
It's so cringy.
The memes are not the one. Dude, we've run out of time.
Bro, that was heat.
Bro, I could sit and talk, I could sit and pick your brain all day. But
quick.
look, so where can people find you on an agency level, on a done with you level, and if they just want to see a bit more of your stuff?
YouTube, Maciek Lipa, and my newsletter. My newsletter send a daily email on sophisticated topics, scaling info offers, scaling an agency. On every single newsletter, I have got a section with 3 of our offers. There's a free school community, our agency, and then our done with you offer. If at a time you believe is right, feel free to explore it. If not, no hard feelings. We are very specific with who we take on. That's not fake disqualification. We are very strict. We are strict with who we take on. If you don't qualify, unfortunately, it's not for you. But yeah, like my newsletter, YouTube, they're the best assets.
Bro, you're one of the best in the space. It's a real pleasure to be able to sit down and pick your brain.
Thank you guys, man. It's been a pleasure.
We'll get it out.
Thank you, man.
Nice one.
Pleasure as always, bro.
Subscribe.